At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. And stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's Sincerely Unqualified. I'm Kevin. Alongside me, we have Wini. It's our first episode as a movie podcast. We're going to be breaking down the other guys today. Wini, you excited?
I'm so excited. And just rewatching this movie got me so amped up to get into this. I mean, we've been loving movies our whole lives, basically. And now to get to dive a little deeper and just kind of understand the process and just different little nuances that we didn't know before is, I mean, so fun for me right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, honestly, taking notes during a movie is something I've never done before, but it was a ton of fun. What else have you been up to, though? How's the day to day? How are those Giants doing?
Yeah, don't bring that up. It's so I mean I know. How do you tie the Bengals? The weirdest thing for me, honestly, since I've come to terms with this season being over and it's week 3, the weirdest thing about this weekend for me, like you said, was taking notes during a movie. Because for me, I even get mad if somebody speaks during a movie. Like, if you ask a question that's like, what are they doing or where are they going? My response is always, I'm watching the same movie. I don't know. That's the whole point.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
No, I don't know what's about to happen. That's kind of what we're going to the movies for. So taking notes during it, for me, was almost like another cardinal sin of just kind of having my phone out and almost half paying attention. But I feel like I was it's like I would never take my phone out in the theater, but now having it out and just rewatching this movie and going so deep into it and having my phone out was so weird for me the first time. Just, writing things down that happened instead of just like enjoying the movie. That was weird. And then, the Giants lost.
The Giants lost. By the way, you said that how do you tie against the Bengals? Actually, the Eagles tied against the Bengals before. 2008, Donovan McNabb tied the Bengals, and he did not know that you could tie. Just didn't know. Just tied him and had no clue. I mean, that's more impressive than tying, is tying someone and not knowing that you could tie.
Did he think that they were just going to keep going? Like college?
I think so. I think
it ended.
I think he thought it was like a playoff game. He was like, oh, well, of course we have to keep going. I thought maybe he thought like penalty shootout, he would just throw like 60-yard bombs to Terrell Owens.
The quarterbacks have to start kicking from 60 yards out, whoever makes the first one. That would be kind of cool, honestly. If it's
Tony Romo showed off the leg.
Kicking. He's got to have...
I thought Tony Romo. I went NFC East in 2008, and then that was my go-to. But,
do you remember what happened in the year before that? The Giants won the Super Bowl. Yeah, no, the Giants won the Super Bowl.
Oh,
but
forgot about that. Speaking of movies, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You were talking about taking notes and like, so you were on your phone. Maybe it was a little different. I was on my computer because I think that, so I'm with you. Whenever anyone talks or anything, and it completely annoys me. But when I'm taking notes during it, I feel like that's like a different level of paying attention. Because like I'm looking for certain things that normally if I'm just like sitting, just enjoying a movie. And also I enjoyed this a ton because we're watching movies and we're only going to do movies that we really do enjoy.
Exactly.
So like we don't have to watch the New Mutants at a critical angle.
I'd rather avoid that at all costs. Like I would rather watch nothing than do that.
Which I will not watch the New Mutants. I have not. Sorry, New Mutants.
Putting our foot in the ground there. We're taking a hard stance on no New Mutants. Just leave them at the old mutants. We've got enough mutants. I think that we're good. That field is saturated. We've experienced enough mutants. We're good.
Yeah. At some point, we have to hit the top. We have to top off at X-Men at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept trying to go. They tried to make apocalypse happen. Didn't work well.
Nope.
They did have some bangers in though. They had some like
Wolverine was
incredible. Was that the first R-rated comic book movie? Yeah.
Not first. No, because there was Deadpool. Wasn't Deadpool before Wolverine? And then it kind of introed the space of we can do this.
Yeah.
Because Deadpool's
Yeah, I
like,
think so.
fuck you, we can do this. And
Right,
then
right, yeah.
Hugh Jackman's like, holy fuck, I kind of want to do that.
Oh, dude, that movie was sick.
That movie was
But
so. That's what Wolverine needed too. Like a character like Wolverine, I feel like you can't hold. If you have somebody who's playing just an absolute jackass who can't die, who slices people in half, and his whole persona in the movies is just a dick, you can't have him limited by the PG-13, like rules. You can't have him say one curse word the entire movie. I feel like that's so against where that should be going. If the whole franchise of X-Men was R-rated, kind of like what they're doing with The Boys a little bit, it would be unbelievable.
Gotta watch The Boys. I missed season 1, and then I said I was gonna watch it right before season 2 came out. So obviously I know season 2 came out or is coming out. Are they doing like a every 3 episodes kind of thing?
So it's
did they just upload it all at once?
So it was 3 episodes to start, and now it's every Friday another one.
Oh, okay.
So it's
I like
a
that,
rolling.
man.
Yeah,
I
do too.
I like waiting for something, but also at the same time, like every single time you get done with an episode, you're like, damn, I wish there was another.
But that builds the anticipation. It's almost like, because now we get everything so instantaneously. There's instant gratification on Netflix, especially. It's like, oh, you can just plow through this in an instant. Now, when a show is really good, I feel like it's the Breaking Bad effect, where it enhances the show because you're thinking about it for a week. And if the show is actually that good, you're going to make it it's appointment television when there is no more appointment television. You're going to make a point to go watch it. And I think that makes it better.
I think that we're finally catching on to the fact that there are certain binge shows, and that's fine. Like sitcoms and everything. You don't need to wait every week. Good shows like The Boys, like all these, like Watchmen. Watchmen was a great one to kind of meter out because you have so much to think about. Those shows, they deserve the credibility of having to be waited for. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. Because it takes away from that end. Like, if it leaves, cliffhangers are almost kind of dying because of the bingeability of shows, which I think is really not good for TV as a whole. I think it's taking away from the impact that certain shows have. Would there have been a week in between certain episodes?
I agree, because it allows for dialogue.
Takes away the writing. I feel like you have to write shows so differently because there's that aspect of, like, you can't have that legitimate cliffhanger when you're going to immediately see, like, recap in the next 5 seconds because it just shoots to the next episode.
Yeah, that whole Netflix thing that just it spews like through episodes. Yeah, I've watched so many. So I'm watching for the first time New Girl all the way through. I've watched so many extra episodes just because I've been sitting there, and like literally it turns into like 5 extra episodes. You're like, all right, 20 more minutes, whatever. It already started. I'm not going to turn it off now.
Exactly. What's one more episode?
Enjoy it. Yeah,
exactly. And then it's 3 a.m. and you're just like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, exactly. But we're talking to the other guys today.
So excited.
First full movie breakdown. Honestly, breaking right into it, we're probably going to be talking about some facts first. So things that you might not have known, things that we found super interesting that we think that you would. Then we're going to talk about some things that we thought of, maybe that they weren't facts, maybe not hard. Hey, this is a behind the scenes thing, kind of insights. Like, we thought of this, maybe you would have. Then we're going to talk about our favorite scenes because we have to do that. There's then our favorite lines after that, just because like we're
getting more specific.
Yeah. Well, getting more specific, but we also don't want to just sit here and be like, hey, remember that line? That was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, have you never seen the movie? Oh yeah, that line was great. Like,
yeah.
It's just...
So I don't foresee any spoilers happening. This movie's been out for a while. Even if you haven't seen it, I think you would still enjoy the podcast. I think that there are going to be interesting things. If you want to watch it, and then come back, listen to the podcast. Or if you want to listen to this podcast before, so you have a new appreciation of the movie, go watch the movie. It's fantastic. Honestly, I think that's probably the best thing to do. What about you?
I agree. I mean, the movie itself is great, whether you listen and then watch or you watch and then listen. I mean, there's no going the wrong way here just because of how great this movie is.
Yeah.
It hits all the boxes. I mean, whether you like, dumb comedy or a little bit more in depth, or you're just a comedy movie fan, it checks every single box of absurdity or like, low key humor. Everything is in there.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that pretty much all the movies we're going to cover do that pretty well.
Yeah.
But the other guys specifically, let's break right into it. Let's
go.
get into our facts real quick. So I'll start out with the first one. The first one, there were a lot of references to it throughout the movie. Not this fact alone, but what revolves around it. So the red Prius that Will Ferrell drives, that is his cop car, they actually had to put a race car engine into it because the stunt drivers that were driving were just whipping it around so hard. And that red Prius is the one that Dirty Mike and the boys, the iconic Dirty Mike, had the soup kitchen in. And Dirty Mike was played by actually the director, Adam McKay, and he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. Like, they didn't write in this line, Dirty Mike wasn't supposed to be in it. Just as they were going, they decided to add this character, and it became so iconic.
It's amazing that the character doesn't exist, and just the way that Adam McKay makes films, he ends up in there, and he says he's probably in it for a total of 2 minutes, but the idea of Dirty Mike and the boys is all throughout the movie. Whenever the Prius is mentioned, you always think Dirty Mike and the boys, and he inadvertently became one of the most iconic people in the movie. I feel like whenever you think of the movie, you think Dirty Mike and the boys.
Yeah, you can't not think about Dirty Mike. When you said 2 minutes, I honestly, screen time, I would bet he only had like 30 seconds. Like, and I think he only has...
He was in it, once. I think the one time. Yeah, twice.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it just...
I think it was just the one. Either way, I mean, to have that lasting impact on the movie and your character wasn't even supposed to be in it is incredible.
Yeah, that speaks volumes about the genius behind him being like, no, we have to add this. And don't worry, I got it. Like, I got it.
Yeah. No. Hear me out. I'm going to dress up as a homeless guy and we're going to fuck in his car. And it's like, just hearing that, you're like, you sure you want that? It's like, yeah. And his name is Dirty Mike. He's going to have his boys. I want to know the process. Like, if he just hopped on set, maybe he had like a rough day, rough morning, woke up one day, was in kind of disheveled clothes and walks on set and is like, damn, I just had this idea. Like, somebody walked up to him on set and was like, dude, you look a little homeless today. He's like, fuck, that's a great idea.
That's awesome.
Like, we're throwing that in right now.
Should have a foursome of 3 other guys and call it a soup kitchen. Just the fact that it's called a soup kitchen is hilarious.
That's didn't he have a walker? No, one of the guys had a walker with him.
One of them did, yeah. One of them did, but they were running away.
He's like, we will fuck in your car. Yeah, that alone, just watching it, you would think that that's one of the staples when they're writing it of this is going to be fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you would absolutely think that, but that's just not his style. But yeah, so Red Prius has a race car engine in it. Dirty Mike is Adam McKay, and Dirty Mike wasn't supposed to be in the movie. Adam McKay had no intention of putting himself in.
Well, alongside that, of people who weren't supposed to be in the movie, Samuel L. Jackson, his character, his aim for the bushes, him and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you see those two. I feel like they're a perfect pair for this movie. For these characters, they are the perfect pair because, number one, they're two Hollywood hotshots. You know them as playing either the action hero, the badass, whoever they are. Yep. They're the perfect archetype for these badass cops who just, do whatever they want. But Samuel L. Jackson wasn't supposed to be the other cop.
Yeah, which is crazy because he's perfect for it.
I know. They had to rewrite the entire script for him because the original was supposed to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Michael Chiklis. And had it been Michael Chiklis, number one, I don't think this movie would have hit the way that it did. I think that's probably fair. You never know. It could have been equally as good because also since you have to
Samuel L. commands the respect for a rewrite. So it's not like he was just reading someone else's lines. So who knows what kind of tone that their characters could have had, because they kind of were buried in the beginning there. But
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you only have a limited role in the beginning or what. These two were just incredible.
I know. And I don't just the screen presence that he has in his first, what would you say? He's in the first 20 minutes.
I think probably around 20. Yeah, I would say 20.
And I feel like even his character, I mean, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is even the more understated of the two. So to have somebody come in and change that dynamic so much is, I feel like the movie would have gone, I mean, not to say that he was one of the main characters, but in a way he sets the tone for the movie in such a way, even in the scene where he comes in and he's thanking everybody for their work. And then Will Ferrell's like, "Hey, you're welcome." And he's like, "Shut the fuck." Like, even that scene,
he goes off on
Samuel
Will
L.
Ferrell.
reaction. Yeah. You don't get that with anybody else.
No. And I honestly, I'm pretty sure Chiklis, didn't he turn down the role? Like, maybe he didn't think the movie was going to be what it was, or I mean,
no, he had another gig. I think he was doing a show on Fox. So he turned down the gig for an actual, I think it was a network show. He was like, "I can't do this right now. It's kind of like similar to what I'm going to be doing there. I'd rather be doing the show than the movie."
Right.
So then they were like, "Who else can we get?" Reached out to Samuel L. Jackson. I think Adam McKay actually gives the producers all the credit for reaching out. Did the quick rewrite for Samuel L. Jackson, which is very deserving of it. And now we got the incredible performance of that we did, where he just came in and he Samuel L. Jackson the shit out of it.
He really did Samuel L. Jackson the shit out of it. It really, I mean, it's so funny with those two, because you were saying like they're such action stars, which they absolutely are, but they're such charismatic, good actors that their comedic roles are always incredible too.
Oh yeah.
So like, you can't pick two better people for this movie. You cannot pick two better people for this movie than of those being the guys, whereas Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are the other guys.
Exactly.
And the titular other guys. Speaking of those two, so this was the first movie that they actually were in together, which, I mean, honestly, their chemistry seemed like it was off the charts. It probably just speaks to their acting ability.
Yeah.
But so they actually could have been in the movie Cop Out with who was it? Bruce Willis and who else?
It was Tracy Morgan. Bruce Willis
right,
and Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan. Yeah. Sorry. So it was Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan, and they could have apparently been cast together in this same movie. I think they were filming and producing around the same exact time, but then they ended up taking this script from McKay because Farrell and McKay are really good. They're tight. They used to be on SNL together, and
this
Farrell,
is their fourth film.
Yeah, and also McKay's way of doing movies just completely improvise. It speaks so. No, I mean it just works so well with how Farrell does his things, and it was kind of a stretch for Wahlberg, but he did super well. We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, I saw something where it was like, because Will Ferrell and Adam McKay had Will Ferrell had contributed to the scripts of Talladega Nights and the other three films that they had worked on together, him and Adam McKay. And then coming into the other guys, Will Ferrell didn't have any impact on the script, but they brought Mark Wahlberg in. The three of them, I think, had lunch, whether it was the three of them or if it was Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. And they said that, the interaction between them, just the chemistry was there almost right away. So they were like, this is a perfect fit. We got to do this.
Yeah. I mean, with the kind of chemistry you have on the screen actually going through the movie, that it has to happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
Especially with how much is improvised. When you have an improvised movie and it's not exactly with the script, because I have to believe you can actually have some really, really good writing if a director is true to script that can essentially mask or I guess fake chemistry. With this, you can't. There's no way you can fake it. They're just fantastic together.
Exactly. I think that's the distinction between good and great acting and great chemistry, because you can have great acting and not great chemistry. And that's where, a great script comes in. But then you can have the other level of great chemistry between the two actors, where there's the baseline script, but if they know how to work off each other, there's unlimited possibilities for where you could go, because they're thinking in this mindset and they know what the other one is going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that's what's interesting, because they didn't really have, like, with this script, again, kind of loosely improvised, wasn't too rigid, but they also didn't want to just do like the classic drug cartel plot. They didn't want to go with that seemed too easy. So I guess for whatever reason, Marky Mark just decided to keep going with cartel stuff. Like, I think it was referenced. How many times would you say? Like,
I think 4 times at least, like 4 or 5, 6. Like, it just throughout. It's a common thread throughout that's unreal. Just when they're getting ambushed by the bikers, he's like, "It's Colombian drug cartel."
And Will Ferrell's, how do you know that?
Like, where are you getting your information from? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, Marky Mark's always assuming that everyone just is in a drug cartel. And it's funny because I think that was really what they stated with the script, is like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do the classic buddy cop movie that's fighting against some bad drug people. So it's funny that Wahlberg really took to that and just kept going for it, just with random references.
It's just unreal. I mean, he's interrogating Ershaw, who's the infamous banker in it, and he's just playing the good cop. He's like, where are you getting your money from? Which cartel is funding you? It's just like, even that little bit had to be kind of conscious as throwing it in there. It's just like, all right, here we're gonna do the cartel thing a little bit again, like, just float that you think every single thing is through the cartel. Like, every single, it's unreal. So, like, even something as simple as, Damon Wayans was in it, which is, I think, kind of not slept on in a way, but he's kind of a minor character. And he's, him and Rob Riggle are a pair. They're two, like, a great comedic duo in their own right. But they were interviewed separately. And for the film, they were just like, he basically said, look, there's people who get budgets for movies and kind of do it more rigid. They shoot movies. They do their own thing. They kind of run it by the script. And then there's Adam McKay, who shoots movies, but it's just $1 million pictures where they're riffing. It's basically like you're going and riffing until you get the best possible cut for that scene. It's like, all right, that's it. We're done. We got it.
Yep. Yeah. That speaks to McKay, is just knowing how to run a storyline and surrounding himself with a cast that really understands what he wants.
Yeah.
And studios know that. Studios won't throw millions of dollars at regular people that are just like, I'm going to wing it. It'll be funny. Trust me, these people are funny. McKay's like, nah, like, I got it. The fact that Wayans is like so up on McKay, especially because Wayans in his own right is at the top of his game. So to give someone that credit, just like, there are people that kind of run by the script, and then there are people that do things in a fun way and make millions off it. Yeah, that's my guy.
It's awesome to just have a movie where that you're going to go in, you have the script, but you know that you're going to get your best stuff from the chemistry that the actors have. And the funny thing is like, okay, Will Ferrell's wife in the movie is Eva Mendes. She's a great actress in her own right, everything. Turns out, like, at the time, she's a fucking huge fan of Talladega Nights and all that, and Adam McKay. Yeah. And basically was just, like, vying for this spot to be in the movie. She's like, she got the offer, and it's like, hey, do you want to be an Adam McKay movie? She's like, absolutely. Like, just tell me what I have to do. Goes in. And the one thing from her that I think is one of the best things, that they actually, in the end, turned into a real fucking song. Like, they brought in CeeLo Green and a producer to make it into a song, which wasn't improv, which I thought it would be, is the Pimps Don't Cry scene where she's comforting Will Ferrell and has the song, like, Pimps Don't Cry. Don't shed a
he was
tear.
Supposed to have, like, the poison ivy on his butthole or something.
He's like, what did we sing? What did we sing? Like, that not being improv, but even an actress like that jumping at the opportunity to be in one of these movies. And I feel like it's so outlandish, and just, she was like, I'm all in for that. I love that. The fact that I get to do that as my job and, like, be in an Adam McKay movie like that is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's funny. Yeah, that's what's funny is you think you could guess what was improv, because you're like, you should be able to see where people kind of trip up, like maybe just see how things progress. That not being improv is interesting. And then the one thing that I would think that just like really witty, just funny writers would spend a while on is this just dialogue back and forth between Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. And it's when they're in their office or whatever, and they start talking about the tuna and the lion. So Mark Wahlberg said, like, if I were a lion, I would bang your tuna girlfriend or something. And Will Ferrell, for the first time in the movies, grows a pair of nads. He starts going back at Mark Wahlberg and is like, basically this whole thing, he just starts stringing along words and sentences. And he's like, yeah, then he ends up like, yeah, I would build an apparatus out of kelp and we would take turns like taking watch and we'd kill your entire lion and his pride. Sure, it won't last a day, but it'll last about hour 45.
Yeah.
Like,
just the hour 45.
Yeah. You know that he is just, and it's so funny because Mark Wahlberg can play along with it so well, even though that's not his strong suit. Like, Will Ferrell is one of the only people that can get to hour 45. Just that alone is so
naturally
funny. And something I learned from the improv class I took is basically you can't just go crazy right away because it's ridiculous. And it's funny watching them because they really do. They start earning it. They go step after another. Will Ferrell lays everything out and all of his logic follows to him being a bunch of tuna going out of the water, having kelp breathing apparatuses and killing his lion pride family. It's just a master class at improv. That's what I mean. You would assume that someone would sit down, write this out, be like, okay, we're going to go from here to here to here to here. And Ferrell's just on the fly, just going
it's like a 2-minute monologue. It's like somebody would write that out and that would be a page and a half of script.
It might be, yeah.
And for somebody else to memorize that and just, exactly. If you're using Ariel, I mean, that might be a little stretch, but it's so much for not only somebody to have to go in and memorize, but the timing of that. And for that to be improv, like just somebody comes up with that on the spot and just be like, yeah, that take was great. It's like, do you know what you just did?
And maybe it did take a few, like maybe it just wasn't scripted. Maybe it took a few, like maybe he went somewhere and then McKay was like, that was good. Let's keep going on that. But I honestly, I would not.
Even so,
it wouldn't surprise me if it was just one take. Because he's just so good with it.
His deadpan just kind of going and diving into these topics. Even on SNL, some of the characters he had would just go into these monologue style riffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I feel like, where he became a pro at this kind of stuff. And now it's almost effortless. I mean, when he makes appearances on anything, it's just like he can stay in that character. He did a roast as Ron Burgundy. And just
I'm pretty sure he has a podcast as Ron Burgundy, by the way. That
I think he does.
I love him. I just don't really. Probably not gonna listen to that podcast, but I mean, to be that character so well, it's impressive.
Yeah. Something that I don't know was improv, but I mean, is also one of the great Ferrell scenes in the movie is the desk pop, where he's like, "Hey guys, I just did my first desk pop."
Wayans and Riggle egg him on to shoot his gun at the ceiling.
Just
that's a funny
unreal.
That's what's funny. It leads him to having the wooden gun, which whatever. That's not that funny. But then the rape whistle, him having the rape whistle and blowing it when the guy jumps off the roof. By the way, the one boss from The Office, that guy jumps off the roof. David Wallace
from The Office. Yep.
Yeah. Jumps off the roof, and then Will Ferrell just starts blowing the whistle. That's hilarious.
Just as there's a million cops around in the area.
Yeah.
Already just starts blowing the whistle. I feel like those little things you can't write. That's where you bring somebody with a genius mind like Will Ferrell in to just do those things.
But even with genius minds, with in terms of directing, we have all this production in the background too. And you saw something super interesting about the bar scene. So they go through this crazy night apparently, and then this one random scene sticks out. Is just super well done, super well produced. Let us know about it.
So that still scene in the bar, basically, it's not your standard, slideshow kind of, montage style shot. So what they did, it's basically a rolling camera. It's as if it's going through the bar. So the camera is moving through the bar, but in every instance, the camera shifts and they have it on one, track. So you have the camera on a singular track that moves throughout the bar. And when they're recording, they have each of the actors for each of the still shots that they did. Rather than placing the actors there, taking the still, they did this live action kind of still thing where they actually hired extras who could pose for a super long time. And then they had everybody stay in one spot, rolled the camera through the bar, and then they would have them probably stand there 10, 15 seconds, get the still, edit everything, like all the beer, all the bullets, everything was all CGI afterwards. But they rolled the camera through the bar every time, had them set up at the different shot, stay there still for like 30 seconds, and then bring it all together at the end, which was, I think, a genius way to go about that.
Yeah, that's something that you need absolute expertise in just knowing that could work. And I think it was his director of photography or whatever, DP. That's what I know it as. But I think the DP was like, no, yeah, we can do it this way. But they thought it was just going to cost so much money. And apparently he figured out a way just to make it at least doable. I don't know, maybe, cheap
so
or whatever.
It's like the shot that was in 1917 where they did the fluid one shot kind of thing.
The continuous one shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
One
they did the
shots are
continuous. I know. But the fact that they did this and they just ran the camera through, I guarantee it was like 50 times. And they literally had to hire people who could pose. They had like stuntmen who could stay in these poses for extra long times, because if you messed it up and you moved, the whole shot is done. And you need to reset, run the camera through again. I just think that whole shot is so much cooler than your standard montage, because you could have had a montage just like showing everything through that night, but instead it's just amazing. Even the look of the shot, everything is so clear. I mean, travels with them through the night, the crazy shit that happens. I mean, a gun goes off at one point.
Yeah. Oh, it's super unique, and it's so funny seeing the progression, especially with Will Ferrell's character going crazy. It's such an interesting way to show that without making a whole entire long scene out of it. That honestly, and that would take away from seeing like Will Ferrell's character like finally breaking loose and like going crazy. Going not so off of that, but just on a different note, something that I honestly forgot about, or maybe I just didn't really realize, like obviously you're set somewhere in your plot. You have to be somewhere, you have to develop it and have things going off on another.
Yeah.
You could look at this movie as like a complete nod to New York. Obviously the NYPD, all like the really obvious stuff, but like even down to
the King of New York.
The King of New York with Jeter. Apparently Jeter gets, so the whole thing why Mark Wahlberg wasn't a homicide investigator, I guess he said he was being groomed to be the top one. When he's working at a Yankees game, someone's walking towards him and he's like, hey, you better stop. Shoots Derek Jeter in the leg because he had headphones on. And
best line.
Yeah. Derek Jeter, what does he say?
Magical 7 words.
Derek Jeter.
Just in the most, I mean, Derek Jeter, he's incredible. He's the king of New York. Everywhere he goes in New York, he's treated like a god. I'm not going to say he's not an actor, but I wouldn't say that that's his, that's not going to be in your reel if you're sending that anywhere. That was just a nod to just the New York. He's like, you idiot. You shot me. I'm Derek Jeter.
I'm Derek Jeter.
They're like, that's great, Derek. That's great. That's all we need.
Just go ahead. He won the World Series. Was it like a week before?
10 days before.
10 days before. He probably was hungover. Probably just felt like partying. And then I guarantee after that, he went just partied again. Because, dude, I mean, to get Derek Jeter in 10 days after the World Series, and then just because I feel like the only reason they wrote that in is because like you have 4 really solid lines in the entire movie that revolve around it. So he's in like the support group and the guy's like, because you shot Jeter. But there are just so many others. Like,
you cost us the championship.
Yeah. you write Derek Jeter into that and have to
Yeah.
bring him in just because you earn yourself 4 really good lines that you can throw into like any scene there. That's
Dude,
just
you know
it's a
what's crazy about
masterclass in building a script just from that.
It's crazy about the Jeter thing too, because Jeter wasn't in the original script either, like Samuel L. Jackson.
What
It
do you
was
mean?
supposed to be like Paris Hilton making a cameo in it at first. The original
Oh.
script had like Paris Hilton, and there was no Derek Jeter in it.
And he shot Paris Hilton. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know
lot
what
less
the
intriguing.
it's a lot, and then somebody said they could get Jeter, which is incredible, and they rewrote the whole script just for Jeter to come in and get shot, and it makes it so much better. So many things I feel like came together that just made this movie what it is. That's perfect.
I feel like so many things have to fall for these kind of
Yeah.
movies because it's tough with comedies. Like there are good comedies, and that's a small amount, and then you kind of have like the rest of the comedies. And I feel like you need a lot of things going for you, which is why I'm assuming we'll have a lot of stories like this throughout the rest of the podcast. But like with all this New York stuff, I mean, when Samuel L. and The Rock's car goes and explodes, it's right in the Trump Towers, right in Columbus Circle. I realized that David, I think is the first name, Coogan, the Ershaw.
Yeah.
His character, or Steve Coogan, his office, when they're doing that whole thing, and like they get Knicks courtside tickets, and then they go see Jersey Boys on Broadway, which is a great scene. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. It's right over Columbus Circle. Like all this stuff. And again, I know that it's set in a plot somewhere, but there just seem like there are so many nods like everywhere just to New York City.
It's really from the perspective of somebody who actually cares about representing the city of New York the way New York is. It's not about being like, oh, we were in Midtown, blah, blah, blah. Because you could do the whole cop out, like just have one street represent all of Manhattan and film it that way. Because I mean, some movies I feel like have a kind of set where they're showing one street. They may not even film in New York and maybe be on a set, blah, blah, blah. This movie had so many different things, and even working in the city for a year, like watching it again, you see so many different little nods to the different areas in New York and the different little things. It's like, oh shit, they actually did their due diligence here and know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, that's what's funny is like I've been to the city a few times, like not as much as you. Obviously, you're the New York guy, but even I noticed. I was like, I noticed I mean, I guess it's Washington because I'm pretty sure it's the Washington Circle or whatever. Like I noticed that in the background of the shot, and I was like, they do those things really well. That I mean, obviously, New York City itself is a huge market. That maybe you're just like you get some Italian Goombas. Like, hey,
come on.
That's New York. Come on.
Generalizing here.
Just going through with insights. Something, and this is all kind of things that I didn't catch at first. So the New York stuff I didn't really catch. But being totally honest, the very first time I watched this movie, and granted I was younger, I didn't realize like it was directly hitting you in the face. Like, hey, this is a commentary on corporate fraud, like on corporate governance, all that kind of stuff. Then obviously with the graphics in the end, they show all the Enron stuff, the AIG stuff, but literally Will Ferrell even at some point when Ben Schwartz is in it, I guess he's like, I heard you guys are the best at this, or solving things like this, except for Enron, AIG, Bear Stearns, and just like a bunch of others.
Just calling out the SEC so blatantly.
Yeah, it's like
he's like, oh, you played tennis with
movie.
him? Yeah. Just calling out that the SEC is playing tennis on the weekends with these bankers who are just avoiding taxes and all that is amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean it's so good, and it's something I realized is that before I kind of took this just like face value, whatever, buddy cop movie, but not really. Directly goes at corporate fraud, and then also something that I thought was super interesting was when he introduces the thought that Will Ferrell's character used to be a pimp. Like the way he used to do it, or the way that he did it was by directly facing, hey, cops. And like, honestly, it's kind of poignant today. Like the mental health that cops have, like the stress that they go through, if you get a bad case, it just wears on you. And unfortunately, it goes off on your partners sometime, like your wife, your husband, whatever. He does that by Will Ferrell going back into his old pimp self. It's just, it's so funny being like, hey, this is a real issue, but here's an awesome joke about it. Let's talk about Will Ferrell used to be a pimp in college, and now he's this like just pencil pusher dude.
Yeah. And the slow transition into that of his character kind of realizing and coming to grips with what he used to be, where he was hesitant to admit it at first, and he was like, no, I just set up dates for my friend. And then you just see the slow transition into like the end where he's got the grills and the knife up to his face.
The knife up to his face is so funny for some reason. Like, I just love seeing Will Ferrell with grills just like has the knife up to his face.
That shit was hilarious. Just the 1 or 2 second shot of him. He had to get in full makeup with the grills in and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just to have that in there.
They use it in such a good way too, because like I said, the real issue being directly thrown out there, but also being diverted because of Gator. Also with Gator, the only time that they actually have their cathartic experience that's like completely necessary in a movie, like you need that one cathartic experience between the two, is when they introduce him. This is when they introduce Gator. Will Ferrell explains to Mark Wahlberg when they're supposed to have their moment, and that's how they have their moment. It's just so good in terms of like still being super funny and avoiding any corny moments, but also introducing this ridiculous premise.
And like even on that too, just exposing kind of the masculinity versus, you know, being in touch with other sides of yourself. The whole joke throughout that Wahlberg would, like, as a kid, he learned ballet to make fun of the fairy down the street. And like
the fairy down the street,
even at the end where he's like, and he played harp at their wedding, which he learned to make fun of the fairy down the street. It's just like, that whole coming to terms with, you know, why you're doing something and exposing like he's this hard ass, and then he's just doing ballet. He's like, I love you, Janine, come on, and then just breaks these dance moves. That was just, I feel like that was a touch on something a lot deeper, but also just, you know, a throw in there like, oh, we learned it to make fun of the fairy down the street. Like that line,
which is also directly being like, yeah, no, we're making fun of this. You shouldn't actually
just
think
like
that.
yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, those little throwaways were unbelievable. And
last insight here, something I thought was great, and I always love when there's good music in movies. And the one that I thought, or actually there are two moments that I thought were really good, and one, it's just kind of an integration of a song. Like, so the song Icky Thump by the White Stripes, I have always loved. And then I think that's one of those things, if you know the song, you're like, hey, I know this song, this is cool. But it works really well in the shooting scene in the end. Yeah, like it's like a high energy song. It's fun.
Yeah.
But something that I realized is they used, and this is something I missed the first time, and when I was watching it with my fiance before, I think the first time we watched it, she was so thrown off by the fact when, here's a spoiler, everyone, skip 15 seconds or so if you don't want to hear this. When The Rock and Samuel jump off, when they do the aim for the bushes thing and then they die, she had no clue. Like, no clue that was about to happen. And I was like, how do you not realize that? And I remembered I didn't at first either. And like, obviously it's because they're supposed to be these like super heroic guys, you know, they can't die. They're just going to jump, whatever. But also they do Hero by the Foo Fighters. And it's just like, they bring it in super inspirationally. And you're just like, oh, of course. Like, I don't know how they're going to do what they're going to do.
But they're going to live.
But yeah, it just keeps going. And it like, they basically put them in slow-mo going down. And then you just hear Foo Fighters in the background. And it's just done so well. Like, I think that's such a great...
See them it's flailing so in the air to their hero. You're like, I don't know what's about to happen, but there's no way this is going where we think it is. And it goes exactly right there.
Well, but that's the funny thing is at first you think they're just going to do something. And then
Yeah.
at some point, because they do the slow motion and because
Yeah.
like it's I don't know, it's just so funny. At some point you're just like, wait, they're gonna die. Like they give
Yeah.
you time to gestate it. Like, wait, hang
Yeah.
on. Oh, okay. Yeah, they died. They died.
I think the slow-mo gives you a second to be like, there's some way that they're going to get out of this. Like,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the slow-mo helps in like, yeah, there's going to be like a truck that drives by with something under it that they jump into, something.
And you
then,
slowly start realizing it's not the case.
like, oh, nope, that's,
yeah.
they're just face planting into the concrete.
Yeah. Hey, so let's
he's
move
flying.
on to he's flying. Yeah. Let's move on to favorite scenes. I'll let you start. What was your favorite scene there, Winnie?
Okay, so my favorite scene, probably one of them, is a string of scenes that had to do with, when they're first trying to get information out of the banker, Ershaw. They're going into his office.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, a string of scenes where we're cheating here.
No. It's when they're going into his office, and the first encounter is like them getting water from his assistant, and there's cucumber in the water, and they're talking, and Will Ferrell's just in the back, just sipping the water. He goes, I just have to say, the cucumber in this water is incredible. Like it brings out something in the, and just the whole thing. And then they just get the bribes. They get the bribes to the Knick game halfway through. They're just like, oh, we didn't even realize. They walk in again. Just like, gentlemen, Wicked or Jersey Boys? And then they got a Jersey Boys. Just the
you
whole
mentioned the cucumber. This is something that I didn't realize, and this could be a throwaway comment, honestly, but for some reason, he specifies not to give them kiwi at first. Did you realize that?
No.
He says to his assistant, he's like, get them the glacier water with cucumbers, no kiwi. Like he's trying to like hardball him. He goes courtside. Mark Wahlberg's like, I saw courtside and went blind.
Another throwaway in that scene too is when they first walk in, right before they walk in, there's audio coming from the banker's computer, and it's porn, and it's pirate porn where it's like, I'm gonna get your booty, and she's like, oh no.
Isn't it like, dude, I thought it was like pirate kitty porn.
It sounded like something really,
dark.
out there, and
dark.
it was fine. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, gentlemen, I didn't know you were coming."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then it keeps playing, and he has to he opens his computer a little and X's it out. That was good. That was good.
So I love those. Just the whole string with the water, and he's like, "Get them some water," and Mark Wahlberg's like, "No, we don't need water." Will Ferrell's like, "Actually, I was quite excited to get the water. Can we?" It's the whole string with the water and everything like that did it for me. It just hit the right note.
Oh, the water. Yeah. It's so funny. So funny. My favorite scene. It's about liquid. It's about something you can drink. But I love my favorite scene of the whole movie is when Will Ferrell has to go to Christina's place and try to get the phone message or whatever. And then you see the husband. It's Brett Gelman, and he's Hal in the movie. And you just hear him at first. You don't see him. All you hear is boo, boo, boo. Arnold Palmer alert. Arnold Palmer alert. Who wants some Marty Palmies? Like you see this ridiculous character. He's wearing like plaid green pants, white sweater. Just like obviously so weird, so whipped. And then you get like an insight into this Christina woman. And he goes by him going, this one has the vodka in it, honey.
This one's got the vodka.
And then it just goes through super weird. But he's just laying there alone with Mark Wahlberg, and he's like, you might think I'm hairy from the beard. Completely hairless.
Shaved.
Or shaved.
And then they drive away just chasing him. You will have sex with my wife.
Yeah, that's the cherry on top of the character. That he might be my favorite character in the whole movie just from his very limited role in that scene. Him and his whole weird thing about him wanting his wife to have sex with Will Ferrell again. And his like weird interaction with Mark Wahlberg, and then he just comes sprinting in out of nowhere.
They're like, this was like 20 miles.
Yeah.
Was that your favorite, like, kind of short cameo in the movie a little bit? Was that your number one? Would you?
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, well, yeah, that was my favorite cameo by far. I really think that was my favorite scene. Like that was just so far out that it fits into the movie, also not. It's like kind of a complete aside. And that whole character, I think Brett Gelman just holds that glue together in that part of the movie just so well. I think that's my favorite scene.
So great. I think that is top 5 for me, definitely. I think cameo-wise, too, I got to throw in just the quick 3-second Gabe from The Office is in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The banker's walking down the hall. He's on the phone. He pops up. He goes, "Hey, Douglas, how you doing? How's the wife?" He goes, "She died." Attaboy.
Attaboy. There are so many great cameos. There are so many kind of – and it's funny because, like, you have McKay directing it, so he knows the sketch game. It's a lot of sketch people, a lot of super funny people that maybe wouldn't get, like, a leading role in a feature film.
Just
like
Ben Schwartz alone
Wahlberg.
Being in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ben Schwartz was still pretty early in his career. I think he's progressed a ton. But there were random ones that unfortunately I can't remember their names right now. Like, but I was watching it. I was like, yep, know that person. Yep. Like everyone was a known like cast member basically.
Yeah. The guy who was listing everything they found, the cop who's listing everything they found on, I always forget his name. The actor who's listing everything they found in the Prius and says there was a note from Dirty Mike and the Boys. I always forget his name.
Oh, right. I can't really think of it right now. But
he's even great in it too. He's one of those guys that you see in the movies and you're like, "Oh fuck, this guy's in it."
Yep.
And you can never think of their name right off the bat, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's it. I'll remember next time." And then next time you're like, "Oh fuck, this guy's in it."
Yeah, was it Rob Hubel?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, from I Love You Man. Yeah, that's right. That's who you're thinking of. He's in everything. Oh, he's speaking of The Office, he is Holly's wife.
Oh, Holly's husband.
Holly's husband.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Because he's in everything. You see him pop up everywhere. Him just being like, "I got a Prius too, quite a machine." It's like
quite a machine.
So good.
That was great. But you mentioned the one line that was a fantastic one. The
Oh, attaboy.
Yeah, so you mentioned that line. Why don't we move on to favorite lines? We'll wrap up here. We're only picking 3 each because, again, we don't want to turn it into
so
this.
Many.
Hey, remember that awesome line? When y'all start, then you can go with yours, and then we'll go back and forth here. No particular order, just 3 that I remembered. Or not remembered, but I marked down. So who ultimately ends up being a bad guy in the end. Sorry, spoiler. Bob. In the movie, he's like looks like the super nice guy. Walks up to them when Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are talking, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to come to my wife's barbecue? You know, it's going to be pretty good. But is it gonna go to the wayside?" And Mark Wahlberg just hits him with a really quick, "It's a bad time, Bob." It's just Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are like bickering during it. But "It's a bad time, Bob" is just delivered so well. It's so Mark Wahlberg. It's unreal.
Yeah.
But it's
bad time,
fantastic. Bob. It's a bad time, Bob.
Just throw it in there perfectly. He's like, "Oh, all right." And you feel so bad for this guy too. After he's like,
poor Bob.
That? He's like, "I'm sorry, Bob. I didn't mean it."
Yeah.
So, Bob, I mean, you feel bad for him for a while, but poor Bob.
Sure.
Mine goes to another Wahlberg line, which I touched on before, but it was Will Ferrell after he confesses his love to his like ballet fiance. Will Ferrell's just like, "Where'd you learn ballet?" And Mark Wahlberg's like, "I learned it as a kid. Make fun of the fairy down the street." And Will Ferrell's just like,
"Oh yeah,
you learned ballet sarcastically."
You learned ballet sarcastically. That's like the I already used cherry on top, but that really is. It's nice to set it in. Like Mark Wahlberg says that, and then Will Ferrell just like directly addresses it. Like, "You learned ballet sarcastically," especially because he's like so good at ballet. Like
he's really good. I mean,
something else that cracked me up though was that with the twirls is that it was so obviously a stunt double. Like they show his face, and it's funny because it's so obvious it wasn't supposed to be. Like I feel like that's part of the joke. You're like, this
Oh,
is clearly a
absolutely.
stunt double. Like, there's
Yeah.
a quick nod there to humor.
Just goes right to his feet and then back up, and you just see his face spin and then right back to the feet.
Yep. Like, it's not even supposed to be masked.
No.
Yeah, no. I think my second one would probably be, it's when they have the DA in there and they're in hot water and everything, and then they're going through telling him to stay off the case, and then as the DA is leaving, he goes, "By the way, Gene, how's the family?" And then the captain goes, "Oh, good. My son's bisexual." just
Perfect.
nothing
Okay,
else.
first of all, Michael Keaton is unbelievable as in this role.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's so good in this role.
Just him as the captain who's just like, I'm working 2 jobs to put my son through NYU who's having a bisexual experience. Like, what?
If I sent through NYU to be a DJ and he's having a bisexual experience or whatever. Yeah,
just tosses that in there. My next one is actually Michael Keaton too, because there's so many gems from him. And it's because when he's working, his character's working a second job at Bed Bath & Beyond, which is just, it doesn't get better than that. I mean, just to be the chief of a police department, like station, and then to be working as a manager of Bed Bath & Beyond. It was, first things first, the new bath mats are here. He's reading
so
off
excited about the bath mats.
His list of like to-dos in front of the Bed Bath & Beyond staff, prepping them for the day shift on Saturday. It's like, first things, the new bath mats are here. Second, there's a serial rapist in Crown Heights. He goes, "Oh, sorry, that's from my other job. Ignore that." No, wait, don't. Especially if you live in Crown Heights, walk in pairs.
Walk in pairs is my favorite part of the whole thing. It's like, sorry, that's for my other job. Ignore that. Wait, no. Don't ignore that if you live in Crown Heights.
Not if you live in Crown Heights. Walk in pairs.
Just goes off the screen quick. Walk in pairs.
Hey, guys. You here for the bath mats?
The bath mats thing is so funny. His whole thing with the TLC lyrics is just hilarious. He's like unknowingly quoting TLC lyrics. And then at some point, Will Ferrell's like, "This can't be a coincidence."
Yeah. It's like, you know what you're doing. He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah. I think it took us until now to directly call out Michael Keaton, but you're right. Such a good role, so many good lines.
Took too long to call him out because he low-key steals the show.
Yeah, he is an incredible character that the movie would not be the same without him. No doubt about that.
Which goes for a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah. I would say definitely the Ershaw that we mentioned before, Steve Coogan.
Yeah,
definitely a very good role in it. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned pretty much everyone else. Somehow we just didn't get to Michael Keaton, like Damon Wayans, Rob Riggle, all the smaller roles, and then also just everyone that takes their limited role that we said, that all the sketch people that just their lines
just in there
do them so well. So my third and last line, it actually comes from the song. So it's when Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are grabbing beers in that bar, and then Will Ferrell randomly gets up and starts doing the Irish folk songs, the really dark ones. For some reason, it got me so much. So he's like, "And all their bodies were hanged, and all the children got pink eye." And all their bodies were hanged, and all the children got pink eye. I don't know why that's so funny to me. It is so funny because it's just so direct. It's so
The old guy coming over, just slightly tapping him on his shoulder when he's supposed to pop into the song.
Yeah, man.
It's so good.
Mark Wahlberg's like, "You actually like doing that? These songs are pretty dark."
It's like, actually, it's my favorite part of coming here. Yeah. Like, what? My last one, because that is an unreal one, that just, he's singing songs in the bar so casually. Like, Will Ferrell's character seems to know everyone, gets the hottest girls, everything falls into place. But my last line is just a kind of throwaway. I mean, it's in and out from Rob Riggle, and it's just him talking to Damon Wayans and just goes, "Yeah, woke up, took the belt off from around my neck and had to get out of there. bar mitzvahs, you know?
It pans to them and they're like mid conversation. I think it starts out. I think he's like
how was your
what I
weekend?
had to
Oh,
do.
crazy weekend.
That
Woke
that
up.
one's so good. That's a quick one. The bar mitzvahs,
Yeah.
like every one that we pointed out. Just there are so many. It's a funny line, and then they just add to it at the end. Like here you
I
go.
can't imagine that part was written in. I can't imagine, like, if that was written in, it would just be the perfect line to just have in there. Just to
And someone as experienced and good as Damon Wayans Jr. would be the only one that if Riggle threw that in there, like, how would you not be able to laugh if that wasn't written in?
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. I bet like he just threw it in there and Wayans just goes, yeah.
Yeah.
like bar mitzvahs, so
just
good.
so casual, just be like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I mean, lots of good. Some of them probably written. A lot of great improvisation. Ran through the lines. Our favorite scenes. Some insights and some facts.
Script.
Yeah, I would be
to just
it'd be
see the
interesting for
script.
sure. Yeah,
See what was in there.
maybe we'll see what we can do. But
Yeah. That'd be great.
we still have to decide what movie we want to do next week. We'll probably decide sometime midweek. We'll post about it. We'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're in the know. Until then, I'm Kevin.
Now I'm Wini.
We'll see you at the next episode.